What's up, guys? Welcome to Let's Play Sengoku Basara! Alright, yes, this game came straight from the land of the rising sun, which means it's an import. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's all in Japanese. So already comparing it to Devil Kings, as you can see, we have a lot more characters to choose from here, all of which I had to unlock. And we have these really nice illustrations of the character designs and whatnot. We get a proper view of Japan here, and like I said, this is a conquest-style game, very similar to Dynasty Warriors and that kind of thing, where you move your units around the map and you conquer all of the warring states, as it were. So we're going to be playing this on Ultimate difficulty. There was a brief screen there where you have the two difficulty levels and then the Ultimate difficulty level. The two difficulty levels that you start out with are obviously normal and hard, even though it feels like easy and hard. There really is no normal difficulty in this game per se. The easy difficulty is way too easy, and the hard difficulty is way too hard. But if you have a character that's at such a high level like I do, you can do ultimate difficulty. And really the things that change in ultimate difficulty are just the density of the enemies, and all the enemies are really high tier. Like these guys, as you can see, are very heavily armored. They have a lot of health, they come in very large numbers, and they tend to swarm you and charge you all at once. So this is going to be quite a challenge, but I feel like my level does balance everything out, and due to the feedback I got from announcing I wanted to do this Let's Play, this seemed like the most logical way to go. So you're probably thinking, aren't you going to address the elephant in the room here? And that is, I guess, that this game is really outside of your normal genres, isn't it? You're not typically into the Dynasty Warriors type of games or anything like that, or are you? And the answer is that's true. I'm typically not. I'm really not into that type of genre at all, the mass army hack-and-slash game where you're just hacking through armies and armies of enemies with a single swipe. But no games do it quite like Basara does, and honestly, just being such a big fan of the franchise, I really got into this game. This is the HD collection that has 1, 2, and the expansion for 2 on it. And they're all really solid. Like, this game has aged very well, all things considered. So I'm a level 19. The focus here, as you can see, is just to eliminate the the enemy faction before we take over their land. We're up against the Hojo clan, and Ujimasu, I think is what his name is. I went into this loadout. I went into this mission with a certain loadout. I started with one of Masamune's secondary weapons, which is the one that is it has an element to it. Every character has an innate element. And occasionally you'll unlock a weapon that has that element as their attack. So I will deal electric damage whenever I hit an enemy with this weapon, which means all the enemies get briefly stunned, and also adds a really nice sound effect and just makes it a lot more fun. Also, I think they look really cool. So and we're playing as Date Masamune, the big boss of Oshu. And he is very good, he's very fast. And you can pretty much combo endlessly with him. And as I showed in the Devil Kings demonstration, I got a lot of the basic stuff out of the way. But a few things I forgot to address. I forgot to address the mini-map there. And the red dots, actually also the blue dots on the map. The blue dots are our captain units, and the red dots are the enemy captain units. And when you defeat a captain unit or commander, whatever you want to call them, varying depending on your translation or which game you're referring to, you will significantly weaken the enemy forces. The enemies that are around them will scatter. You will prevent more enemies from spawning in that area, and just overall, you'll basically, it allows your forces to move up a little bit more. We're going to be outrunning our forces pretty quickly here. So other differences are, we obviously have our secondary attacks now, and our Basara gauge is this swarming attack that deals a lot of damage, and it has like several different hits to its combo in there, and as I demonstrated a couple times here, I'll demonstrate it again pretty soon here. We're at level 19, which means we're at Basara stage 2, which what that means is you have a second, you can fill up past your gauge and have a second gauge for your Basara drive. And I don't know if there's different Basara attacks that you can unlock. Again, my knowledge of this game is going to be relatively minimal, based on what I can discover from playing it on my own without a translation guide or anything, because it's all in Japanese. So here's the Basara attack demonstration. I'm going to be flowing into these types of attacks relatively quickly and easily on ultimate difficulty, just because of the sheer quantity of enemies. It's going to fill up again really fast, but you've got to, almost going to be spamming it just to get through this quantity of enemies, because there's a lot of guys coming at me. I've also got to keep on the offensive too, because if I lay down my guard at any point in time, and I get attacked from multiple directions, I can only block in one direction. There's also, this game does not have a target locking system, which a lot of these games in this genre do. See Hyrule Warriors. So when you hit the block button, you recenter the camera, and that's about the best thing you can do as far as like defending yourself from enemy attacks. See, this guy with this lance there just hit me in the back twice. There's a couple different enemy types, as I mentioned before. There's guys with swords, guys with lances, like we're fighting right now. There's those heavily armored guys with the lances right there, which are also I think the captain units are like that too. And there's the guy with the war horn there that's calling in for reinforcements. We definitely got to take out those guys really quickly. And this map actually is a pretty tricky map to start off with if you're a new player, because of the fact that you have so many of those guys right off the bat. There's a lot of maps that don't really have many of those guys at all, and it makes for a pretty easy time. See, that captain unit is pretty tough. You know it's a captain unit because he's got a very large health bar, and he's also got some kanji for his, I think it's the word commander above his head there. So again, with my setup for Masamune, I went in with a very specific setup for the weapon and also my moves. I went in with his secondary move, Magnum Step and War Dance. Magnum Step is a forward lunging attack that can sweep through multiple enemies. I demonstrated there a little while ago. It's very good for decreasing the distance between you and an enemy, like these archers here. If I were to use Magnum Step there, I could lunge at the archer in between their bow draws, and I could hit them before they hit me. And of course I didn't do it there, and I took 2 hits, and that was entirely my fault. And I used War Dance instead. And War Dance is where the dragon draws all 6 of his claws. And in doing so, you have an entirely different series of combos. Now, the thing is, you cannot take a hit while you're initiating War Dance, or else it'll interrupt and you'll go back to using just one sword. So the best thing you can do is, if you see an encounter of enemies coming up, just use War Dance so you have all your swords deployed, and then just go ham on those guys, because if they hit you while you're trying to draw out your swords, you'll take the hit and you will not have drawn the sword successfully, so it's pretty wasteful. But I've had really good luck with it lately. When I first unlocked it, this is what happens if you hit triangle when you're using War Dance. I demonstrated that a little bit in Devil Kings there, because basically, like I said, when you use your Fury Drive in Devil Kings, is basically just using War Dance, and that's really lame, all things considered, especially when you see how freaking awesome Masamune's Basara attack is. But yeah, being able to use War Dance and make us a lot more powerful helps a lot on ultimate difficulty. As far as my plans for this Let's Play, I'm going to be doing the full campaign as Masamune on Ultimate Difficulty, and then I'll go on to Yukimura. I'll probably do Nobunaga and Ohime as well. And if anybody has any characters they want to see, then please give me some feedback now. Let me know what characters you want to see, and I'll try to do those. There's a lot of characters I don't really like playing as. I would like to, if I want to show off a character in this game, I want to show them off now before we move on to Basara 2. That way, when I do Basara 2, I only do the new characters that have been introduced there. So if I really don't want to do the same character twice, except for the game's signature characters such as Masamune and Yukimura. But we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think, if you guys have a particular preference or if you want to see a particular character demonstrated. But but have mercy on me. There's some characters I will not play as. I mean, I will not play as Zavi. I freaking hate Zavi. Anyway, so there's a giant gate here that's called the Colossal Gate or something like that, and there's a demolitions unit on standby with a bomb, so we need to clear out this area. And when we come in this area, 2 more captain units will spawn in this area, and several other captain units will spawn behind us, as you can see on the mini-map there. There's a new enemy type. There's actually 2 new enemy types here. There's one that has the Stick of Mighty Beating, as it's called. He swings around in a circle. These guys are very dangerous on Ultimate Difficulty. And you definitely want to keep your distance and use Magnum Step on them to close the gap and finish them off when you have time there. There's various different item drops you get from defeating enemies, and the one I just picked up there is one of the best ones and most rare that you can get, which increases your health and your Basara gauge significantly. Now, the first time I did Ultimate Difficulty, Masamune was around level 11 or 12, and that's pretty good. That's about what he would be if you just finished playing the game through once on easy and one again on hard. So that's not bad. I mean, but like I said, there's actually an option on the main menu for the HD collection that is a straight-up unlock everything button, and by doing that, obviously it increases all your characters' levels up to level 19. So that's not the max level. I'm not actually sure what the max level is, but the fact that we're at level 19 now really makes this a lot easier, and also allows me to demonstrate a lot more characters that you guys might want to see. Because I, admittedly, like I said, I'm not an expert at this game. I'm not an expert at any of the games in this series. I'm just going off of what I know and what I can learn on my own from playing it without looking at somebody else's translation guide. And if I'm missing a lot of stuff, then just feel free to let me know, guys. Just don't be horribly malicious about it if I miss something that should be blatantly obvious, or if I'm just playing the game straight up wrong here. Now, you may have noticed before I hacked away those guys that had just fled from me in cowardice after defeating their captain unit. The reason I did that is I don't want to leave any enemies alive after when I start recruiting this demolitions guy, because I don't want anybody to kill him. And you can make it to where you can kill every single enemy over here and you won't have any resistance when you're bringing him back, and that's what I want to go for. I do not want to be too careful on ultimate difficulty. These are new enemy types here. The shield guys, I saw a few of them earlier, I just didn't comment on them. The shields may look intimidating, but you can break through them with a few attacks. They're just a lot more resistant to damage here. Using War Dance, if you see them fortified in an area and you use War Dance, you should be able to cut through them really easy. And again, the difference between this and Devil Kings is all the enemies they have different colors and different flags that come from different armies and whatnot, but they're all mostly the same, just, you know, palette changes for the most part. See, when you defeat the captain unit, the enemies become a lot weaker and they flee from you, and they're for the most part not a threat, especially if you're just moving through an area. You can skip a lot of enemies. Like, these games are not intended for you to kill every single enemy on screen, but just in this particular encounter I really want to, because I want to be able to make sure that that demolitions guy is not going to be threatened. So this is a pretty easy map overall, but this is the only map in the first Basara that has that gimmick to it where you got to recruit the demolitions guy. Some maps have unique versions of that fight. Any given fight, playing as a certain character, like if you're playing as some of the ninja characters, you do certain levels backwards and that kind of thing, because you're playing from a different perspective of the fight. But for the most part, it's the same for everyone. Okay, there's some counterattack missions that you have to do sometimes, and there's various different mini games, and there's various different story cutscenes as well that only trigger when you're playing as a certain character. Like, obviously our main rival as Masamune would be the Takeda clan and Sanada Yukimura, but of course, being that this is all in Japanese and there's no subtitles, I'm going to be skipping all the cutscenes for this, so no story for you guys. Also, this game doesn't really have a, you know, I don't think it really has a canon ending per se. I mean, I've played as mostly every character, and I've not really seen a what you could say a linear story for this game. It doesn't really get that way until Basara 2. So there is a different continuity between the games and the anime. Both are good. I think the anime has a very well put together story for the most part for such an over-the-top franchise. I'm actually doing pretty well here. I was struggling for health my first time through test playing this, but there's some health pickups over here in those boxes. The little rice cake things are health pickups, and then there's another thing that increases your Basara drive. There's also money that you can find in those boxes and whatnot. And again, there's different variations on that. A lot of times you get an item drop for defeating a captain unit or another large enemy like that. But for the most part, you kind of have to look around in chests. And usually most maps are pretty forgiving about the placement of these chests, so you really don't have a whole lot to worry about as far as running out of health goes. If you're dying during a boss fight, you can easily just turn tail and run away from the boss until you find some health. Yeah, there's one thing that the HD definitely upgraded the graphics and the frame rate, and the game does look really nice. Like, this game is, thanks to this HD collection, this game is aged really well. I wouldn't think this game is over 10 years old now, just because the gameplay really does hold up, I gotta say. Yay, we destroyed the barricade, and that guy probably sacrificed himself doing it. Alright, now the action really picks up. So now we're going to cut through more of these guys with the giant battering rams over here. And I really don't know what to call those guys. I'm sure there's a name for them. There's also a group of archers over there, I think. No, I was mistaken. They were just holding up their swords a certain way. A lot of these guys are actually blocking me, but I have a second Basara gauge sword up there, so we're going to just cut right through them like it's no big deal. You guys sure know how to put on a hell of a party. And like I said, I tend not to block most of the time unless I know I can telegraph an enemy's attack towards me. Because usually, depending on which character you're playing as, you can over-aggress your attacker and defeat them before they even have a chance to attack you. The AI in this game is not brilliant, but the aggression that comes with ultimate difficulty makes it that much better. I was able to beat that guy down with perfect timing there before he spun around again. That's what Magnum Step really allows you to do. So I feel like I haven't actually used Masamune's last secondary attack, but I feel like out of the ones that he has, these are the best choice for ultimate difficulty. I probably will demonstrate his others occasionally. You have Jet X and Death Fang. Death Fang is kind of the upward swiping type thing you do when you have all your claws deployed. And you can juggle enemies with that, and it's actually pretty nice. And then Jet X is a good combo finisher. Like after you're done, you kind of do a spinner. You kind of do a spin all the way around, and you slash downward with all 6 of your claws, and that's pretty powerful. It's the first secondary attack that you unlock in Devil Kings as well. Yeah, these are a new enemy type here. We have ninjas. Most armies in this game have a ninja corps, which seems very strange, but in the anime only certain armies have a ninja corps. Of course, everyone has a ninja corps in this game. I like how the anime kind of gives a more believable perspective on who has a massive army and who doesn't. Like, the Hojo faction is really dried up. Ujimasu is an old man. They kind of make a complete joke out of him in the anime. But he's pretty formidable, actually, in the game for the most part. Not as formidable as he is in Basara 3, good lord. But we'll get to that in due time. New enemy type right here, there's a ninja captain unit. So that's that red dot on the map was for the Ninja Corps, I guess. And there won't be any more ninjas. The ninjas have some pretty unique attacks, which is why I wanted to use War Dance before they got too close there, so I could just overwhelm them with the speed of Masamune's attacks and not have to worry about them doing their little disappearing act thing there. He may only have one eye, but that one eye sees through their little tricks. Now, these enemies, I really don't have to clear them out because if I get rid of the captain unit on top of the stairs there, I'll unlock the boss with Ujimasu. But, you know, I might as well just because I don't want any of them following me up there, and I want to clear out all those guys with the war horns or whatever they're called, so I don't have to deal with them. These guys right here with the helmets, they're essentially the same type of enemy as a captain unit, but they're not official, so they're very tough, like elite enemy. The flag for the Hojo clan is seriously the Triforce. Are you guys seeing this? It's literally the Triforce. Alright, old man, let's see what you can do. Now, Hojo is Ice Elemental. So all of his attacks will freeze you if you allow them to, which means that you can really get stuck and he can combo on you pretty quickly. Now, I've just completely run up here and savaged him, which is not something I usually do with this fight ultimate difficulty. Now, the stunning there from the electricity allowed me to get out War Dance here. That was very risky. I don't ever usually do that, but I've done a lot of damage to him already. These boss battles is really where the game is going to change a lot in ultimate difficulty, because this would have been over by now if this was easy. Normally, I like to clear out all those shield guys right there at the beginning before I go ham on Hojo there, but it just seemed like the right time, and he just got me all fired up. What can I say? So he's pretty good at blocking, though. There is actually from what I understand, there's a algorithm that changes based on what difficulty you're playing on that has a certain variable for how likely it is for the boss to evade your Basara attack. So if you unleash your Basara gauge, he will dodge out of the way. And there's, like I said, there's a certain factor that affects that, and I think it's dependent on your difficulty level that you're playing on. But yeah, the first time through on Ultimate, I had a very hard time getting the attack to stick, and you may only get like 2 or 3 hits from it in there. It's still worth using because you can activate it at any time and even chain it when you're taking damage. And the best part about it is the fact that you're immune to damage while you're unleashing it. So it's a good way actually to be defensive as well, because if you're under attack and the opposition is overwhelming, you can resist a lot of damage that way. Like if you're low on health and you can be killed from the amount of damage you could take, you can always just turn the tables back around with the Basara attack, because it cancels out whatever the enemy's doing, and it's unblockable. Or it's not unblockable. They can still block it, but they cannot hit you while you're in the middle of the animation. You cannot, no matter what's going on around you, you can't take damage while the animation is going through. Luckily, Masamune has a very good Basara attack as well. Alright, Hojo's almost down. We almost got him now. The old man didn't put up much of a fight, but not many can stand up to the dragon, so we'll forgive him for that. Yeah, it takes a lot longer to complete a map on this difficulty than it would on the other difficulties, but it's worth it just for the gameplay is a lot more enjoyable. So we're one step closer to making this country ours.